Hey guys, welcome to the channel Before You Call a Contractor. I'm Andy. Today's video, we're going to be replacing a ceiling fan. We're replacing that ceiling fan to be exact. And we're replacing it with one that looks like that one over there. The reason being is that these fans, they only work off one switch, that switch on the wall right behind me. And then you got to use the pull chains to make them work. The other thing is they only have a single light bulb in them, so they're not very bright. And the new fans are putting in have remote controls and they're LEDs, so they're much brighter. So what I usually do is I like to lay my fan stuff out on the floor and get an idea of what I have. And it's one of these things you're going to really probably need to read the manufacturer's assembly instructions because they're all a little bit different. So let's get started. So before we get started, we're going to need to turn the power off. First, we got to remove this glass dome here. It's on here with just thumb screws. There's 3 of them. Loosen them up. And get rid of this. Take out the light bulb. All right, so now we're going to need to use a circuit chaser. Circuit chaser looks like this, which is meant to plug into the wall, and then this, which goes to the breaker panel. But what we're going to do with this is we're going to use this right here that'll screw in, and this can screw in here, and screw it in there. And there's a little red LED light right here that shows that there's power onto it. Then we're going to go to the breaker panel. Okay, so here we are at the breaker panel. What we're going to do with this is we're going to turn it on. And what this does is it's got to learn your panels. What you do is you start at the bottom, and you touch each breaker and just go up, down. Don't worry about it making any noises on the first up and down slot. Now the second go around, you go real slow. And it's going to be that one. So we're going to turn that one off. All right, so now we got to work by taking this fan down. Now, if you're concerned about the weight of the fan, you can actually take all the blades off, and that will definitely make it lighter. I know I took the other one down, though it's not that heavy. The only real tools you need to do this is Phillips head screwdriver. And like I said, the circuit chaser does help. You don't have to have that. It helps you find out which breaker it is. So we'll start by taking this canopy off at the top. It's on here with just 4 Phillips head screws. All right, then we need to disconnect all of our wires. The wires are up inside of here. Pull them all out, remove the wire nuts, and take the wires free from the fan. Make sure all your wires are disconnected. Now, I can't say it works this way for all ceiling fans because some of them are different, but most of them, literally all you have to do from here is lift it out and take it down. Next thing we need to do is take this bracket down. This is just held up by 2 screws into the box. And they are long screws. Okay. Now, if you're replacing a ceiling fan, you don't need to worry about this. But if you're taking down a light fixture and adding a ceiling fan, you need to check the box and make sure it's strong enough to hold a ceiling fan. The box shouldn't flex if it's up there. If it flexes, it's probably not designed to hold the weight of a ceiling fan. But also, if you have like a box like this, a pancake box, these are perfectly fine. These are attached straight to the ceiling joists, and they are perfectly fine to use. The only downside to these is they're so shallow you can't put your wires up inside the box. You have to leave your wires underneath the cowling for the fan, but that's okay. So next we got to install our new mount. And for some reason the mounts always seem to come like this with the cover always on them. So you got to loosen it up and take the cover off. Those just twist and come off. Now we can put this back up. You see it has that slot in here where the ball's going to fit for the ceiling, just like the other fan did. These things are actually designed, they got a larger spot here, so I don't have to have it up there to get the screws in. Makes it a little bit easier. And when I get close to the end, go ahead and put this back, slide it over, get my other screws started. Let's move it a little bit. Right about there, I think will work good. Make sure your bracket's good and snug. We're good to go. Let's go put our fan together. So this is where the instructions come handy. The first thing we're going to do is take this assembly, and we've got to do the parts that are going to attach to the ceiling. We're going to need this, we're going to need this, and we're going to need that other cover we just took off. First thing we got to do is this is going to cover the wires right here. So this goes on first. Well, maybe we won't put that on first. I think we're going to put it through the rod first. To do this, we have to take this apart. Very simple. It's 2 screws, and this slides down once you get the screws loose enough. All right. screws are out. This slides down and then there's a pin in here and the pin comes out. So this pin is going to go into the actual fan itself. And this pin has a cotter pin that holds it. So we'll put these wires through it. And they're going to go into the fan. Now, there also are 2 screws on here that we got to loosen up. Okay, so this goes on. Now, the pin that we took out, we've got to put back in. This is the one that had the cotter pin. Line your hole up, slide it through. Sometimes easier said than done because you're trying to work around those wires inside, but you just got to kind of push it to one side and work it through. There you go. Then you put your cotter pin back in. Now we want to tighten these 2 screws back up. Get them good and tight. Now this is where we're going to go ahead and take this and put it on. We just slide it down. And it slides down over the pipe. It's actually called a down rod, not a pipe, but you know what I mean. By the way, if you have really tall ceilings, you can go to the store and buy longer down rods, and they'll work on almost every fan. Then we got to take our cowling or canopy, whatever you want to call it, and it goes on here like that. Now we got to put this back together, our hanging bracket. To do that, we run our wires through it. Let's see if I can make it so you guys can see a little bit better. So we ran our wires through it. Now we got to put our pin back in here. Put our pin back in, get it lined back up where it goes. And then we got to put our screws back in. Now I didn't take this screw all the way out, so I can just tighten it back down. Then put in the other screw. These screws can be a little difficult to get the screw in all the way, but you want to get them screwed in all the way. That way, there's no risk of the fan coming down. Okay, now we're ready to hang it. So to hang it, it's going to literally go the exact same way the other one came down. You slide it up here, you get it up into this. Yeah. Sometimes you got to finagle it in there. And that's that. Now we got to wire it up. So this is the receiver for this thing that makes the remote control work. Some fans have the receiver built into them. You don't have to do this. But this one came with an extra one. And this one's actually kind of big. I know it's going to be difficult to get in there because the other one was. But we can get it done. Just got to finagle it around and get it in there. First, I'm going to start by getting my wires and seeing what's what. Now, I've already got my black wires right here, so I'm going to do black to black. And if you can get your wires twisted around as much as possible, it definitely helps keep them from coming apart. Get your wire nut on there as tight as you can, and then give it a tug and make sure it doesn't come off. Now we're going to do the same thing for the white and the green. All right, I've got the white and the green wires connected. Just so you know, this one had 3 ground wires coming from the fan and the ground wire that goes into the house. So from here, I'm going to try to move this to the other side. get it out of the way, and try to put these wires as far up inside this box as I can get them, and still have access to this receiver. Because these wires have to plug into the receiver to make the fan work. All right, so what I'm going to do now, if you have one of those pancake boxes I was telling you about, you can't get the wires up in here. You're going to have to get them to work in around here. And if you do that, since they don't have the safety of the box, I strongly recommend putting some electrical tape around these wire nuts and around the wires to keep them from coming apart to prevent any arcing. All right, let's put this through here. And this, by the way, this is the antenna for this receiver. This other wire, in case you're wondering. And again, this is the tricky part, is getting this in here. You definitely have to finagle it in there. Okay. And then you got to replug everything back into it, which is where it gets more difficult. But just be patient and be gentle. Try not to break your wires or pull them out of their connectors. All right, that one's in. And that one's plugged in. And then this last one gets plugged in. They make all the plugs different, so you can't mix them up. Okay, now we need to get all of our wiring underneath this cowling, including our antenna. We'll work this up around here. And gonna need to back these screws out a little bit. They're not very tight, so I'm just doing it by hand. Probably should have done this earlier. But what I can do, I can just take the screwdriver and do it. Or maybe I can't. Guess not. Guess I'm gonna have to do it by hand. Again, not every fan is going to be the same. So some of them you run into a little bit of challenges like this, but you can work through it. I'm going to line that up. Now I can get to this other screw and back it out. Okay. Let's see what we got. We give a little twist, and it's up there. And we tighten this back up. And it's okay to rock the fan from side to side so you can get a screwdriver in here. That's what it's designed to do. These are designed to move. All right, let's get our fan blades ready. So almost every fan blade for ceiling fans comes with two sides. There's this side, and you can use either side. I want the silver side down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bracket and I'm going to put it on the silver side like that. And then I'm going to flip it over and put my screws in here. Now there'll be a screw and there'll be a little red, kind of like a cloth washer. And it goes in like that. These blades have 3 screws. So that's how many we're going to put. That's blade number 1 ready. I won't bore you with the rest of them. I'll get them set up. All right, I got all 5 of our blades ready to go. And if you're wondering why I didn't put the blades on before I hung the fan, if you do that, what happens when you saw the trouble I had with getting to some of the wiring, you're literally having to work at arm's length because the fan blades are holding you away from the fan. So that's why I don't do it. I always put the fan blades on after the fan is hung. All right, so here we are ready to install our blades. I have found it easier if you put one of your screws in like this, get your screwdriver on it, and then flip it over. Makes it easier to get your blades in place and start screwing them up. And yes, they will spin because of the weight issue, not being balanced all the way around. And I made that one too tight to get it lined up. You want to get both screws in before you tighten them down. And I know that, but I made that mistake. All right, I'll get the other blades up. All right, so now we got to install our light. We got to take these screws out. These are the screws that hold the light in place. And I do remember this being quite tricky getting this light plugged in, but I'll figure it out, as will you. Because the way the connector is, it's so small and so bent in one direction. But there, I got it. Now, I'll put our screws back in. This is turning out to be the hardest part of the whole thing. Partially because you can't see. But just keep trying. There we go. Got the first one started. So we got all of our 3 screws put back in. Now we got to put our light cover on. There's a little post here, and there's little indentions in this plastic, and you just got to line those up and twist it. And that's literally it. It's locked in place. Let's turn the power back on. All right, so the power is back on. What the instructions said to do is turn the switch on and press 1 and 2 on the remote at the same time to pair them. Oh yeah, I did put the batteries in here already. So let's turn the power on and let's see if it works. Press 1 and 2. And there we go. It works. And actually, these remotes are going to control both fans. So I have one at one side of the house and one at the other. And you can change the color on the light from that color to that color to that color. So there's 3 different colors on the fan, these lights, and they're definitely much brighter. So don't be afraid to go ahead and do an upgrade. You know, get some new fans in your house. It'd be great for you. Okay. All right, guys. Hope that you found this video helpful. Appreciate it and have a good day.